talking about volume, that concept of volume, first of all, we talked about how, like when we were getting into circles, we talked about circumference was just like inches or feet or yards, but then area was inches squared, feet squared, yards squared. What is volume? Cubed. So if you think about it, when we say that like the term squared, that's a two-dimensional object. So area is squared, a 2D object. Volume is cubed because it's for a 3D object. The only time that might get confusing is surface area. Surface area technically is a three-dimensional object, but surface area isn't really based on the 3D item of it. It's actually based on the unfolding, the net of it. So technically when you unfold it, unwrap it, and net it out, it becomes two-dimensional. Okay? So volume is a cubed item. So you just need to remember that your unit of measure is always to the third power. Now, like I told you guys before, you are going to be given a formula sheet for the milestones and for your exam and for your test. However, the formula that's on there is a universal formula, meaning it's a formula that can be used no matter what kind of shape that you come across. And that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to use that shape so that when you get to the formula sheet, you understand it. So, big B times big H is the universal formula. Big B, so I'm using this in blue, big B represents the area of the base shape. Now, again, we're talking about volume of prisms. This is only for prisms that we're talking about. We didn't get into pyramids. So please don't go into your geometry class later on when you're taking geometry and saying that, oh, this is the formula that's supposed to work for everything. It only works for prisms. Pyramids is different. Okay? But for prisms, you find the area of the base shape. So if it's a rectangle, the area is a what? What's the formula for area of a rectangle, guys? Come on. Length times width. If it's a triangle, okay, so or base times height divided by 2, or length times width if you want to call it that, divided by 2. Okay, if it's a trapezoid, you add the two base measurements, multiply by height, and divide that by 2. So, and those specific formulas are on the reference sheet. That's why we're not really going over them, because they're on the formula sheet. I don't need to teach it to you. Height. When we talk about height, this is the part that gets confusing, especially if it's a triangular prism, because technically there's two heights. There's a height of the base unit, and then there's a height of the prism. Big H represents the height of the prism. And you will know that it's the height of the prism, that measurement represents the height of the prism, because it's the measurement that connects the two base shapes. So you want to write that down. It is the measure that connects the two bases. That measurement that's going to connect your first base to your second base. So if it's a triangular prism, it's the measurement that connects the two triangles together. If it's a rectangular prism, you pick out which rectangle is your base and the measurement that connects those two rectangles together. So now some of you know how to draw a prism perfectly fine, a rectangular prism perfectly fine. Some of you don't. So bear with me. I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to draw a rectangular prism. Okay? So, about a couple lines down, go ahead and draw a rectangle. I'm taking up two lines worth to draw my rectangle. Everybody got that? Okay, now what you're going to do is from the top left corner, kind of draw a slanted line going up to the right and go up only one line. And then try and draw that exact same sized diagonal connecting from the other corner. And then connect those two lines together. Does everybody have this so far? Okay, now from this top corner to the right, the little corner that's sticking out all the way to the right, draw since my rectangle is 2 lines tall, take that corner and drop it perpendicularly, that means straight down, 2 lines. And then connect the tip of that to this corner, to the bottom right corner. Okay, now that is the box if you can't see inside. To see inside to the box, everything else needs to be a dotted line. So let's move back over to this corner. This corner on the top, very top left, we're going to draw another line perpendicular going straight down, but it's going to be dotted. And then you connect that dotted line to this far corner off to the right and connect it to this far corner here. And you now have a rectangular prism. Okay? All right. Now, labeling. Let's go ahead and label this 5 centimeters. We'll say that this is 4 centimeters and that this is 3 centimeters. Not drawn to scale. Okay? With this drawn, what you need to do is because it's a rectangular prism, it doesn't matter which rectangle you choose to be your base. For all intensive purposes, it's easiest if you just pick the bottom rectangle and the top rectangle to represent your base. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the very bottom rectangle with blue. And I'm going to highlight my top rectangle in blue. So I'm letting those represent my base. So again, the formula was big B times big H. Big B represents the area of the base shape. So the first thing I need to know is what are the dimensions of my base shape? What's the dimensions of that rectangle? Howard? 4 centimeters and 5 centimeters. So we've got 5 centimeters here. We've got 4 centimeters here. And then the area of a rectangle, as you guys already stated, was that you multiply the 2 measurements together. So 5 times 4 is going to give me 20. So I have 20 centimeters for the area of my base shape. Now, the height. The height, like we said before, is what connects the 2 bases together. So what measurement is connected between the 2 rectangles? 3. This measurement right here is what is a connection. And guess what? Every one of these lines here happens to be a 3. All of those are the exact same measurement. They are 3 centimeters that are connecting the top of the box to the bottom of the box. So that means that we're going to take that area and multiply it by 3. So what's 20 times 3? 60. So we're going to get 60 centimeters cubed. Sorry, this was supposed to be centimeters squared here, and then we're multiplying it by another set of centimeters, which is why we get centimeters cubed. 60 centimeters cubed is our final answer for the volume of that box. Now, as people have all pointed out before, in every single class, every single year, everyone always says, well, isn't volume just going to go ahead and multiply all 3? Do I really need to write it all out? Yeah, you're right. It's just multiplying all 3, which is why the rectangular prism also has its own individualized volume concept of length times width times height. That's all you're really doing. Length times width times height. But when you get into other shapes that are not just rectangular prisms, you need to make sure that you know what the rest of those, like what the formula, the universal formula is. Skylar? Huh? Not right now? Okay, let's go on to the next page. So again, just draw a real quick box. Just so we can get one more practice in. It's called pizzazz, not pizzazz. All right, find the volume. Okay, what's the volume going to be, Valina? Cubed, yeah, good. 142.5 meters cubed. Did you have a question? Low battery. There's solar. Here, bring it up to me. You can take this one. All right, so there is the volume. There's a volume for it. So we take the area of the base shape. Again, it doesn't matter which ones you chose. I chose the 9.5 by 5 to be my rectangle. So the top and the bottom box. 9.5 times 5 is 28.5, and then multiply it by the height of 3, which gives you 142.5, and it's meters cubed. Okay, now, again, triangular prism, just a little bit different. With a triangular prism, first let's go ahead and talk about how to draw your triangular prism. We're going to start with a right triangle. So, with a right triangle, draw a right triangle on your paper, a little bit down from where you want to start. Again, I like to just take up 2 lines because it gives me a little bit more space to work with. And then once you finish drawing that, go up about 2 spaces and to the right a little bit. You're going to redraw that exact triangle. However, when you redraw it, these legs that form the right angle are then going to be dotted. They're going to be dotted lines to form it. But you need to recreate that exact same size of a right triangle. They are going to be dotted lines, and the third line, which we call that a hypotenuse, is going to connect as a solid line. Okay, now to connect the corners. So your very top corners are going to connect together as a solid line. Your very bottom right corners are going to connect together as a solid line. And then the bottom left corners are going to connect together as a dotted line. And there is the right triangle prism. Right triangle prism. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and label this as 6 feet. We'll say this is 8 feet and that this is 9 feet. So obviously we can't just multiply all 3, because if we multiply all 3, that would be for a rectangular prism. This is not a rectangle, it's a triangle. So what do you think we're going to do after we multiply all 3? Divide it by 2, because the area of a triangle is multiply, divide by 2. That's where that formula for your base shape. So the base shape in this case happens to be the triangle. That is a 6 by 8 triangle. You would multiply 6 times 8 and then divide that by 2. 6 times 8 gives you the 48, divided by 2 gives you that 24. And then you multiply it by the height that connects the two triangles. So you've got your two triangles, one in the front and one that's in the back. And the measurement that connects the triangles. That's where people get confused about when we say multiply by height. Once you see a triangle, they're like, oh, well, the height's 6. Basically, this is like a triangular prism laying down. So we've talked about that before. If you measure me standing up, does my height change when I lay down? No, my height still is from my feet to my head, whether I'm standing up or laying down. This is essentially like it's a triangular prism laying down. The height is connecting the feet to the head. Does that make sense? Awesome. All right, so that height is going to be 9 feet that connects it. So you're multiplying 24 by 9. And we multiply 24 by 9, we're going to get what?
216.
Very good. 216 feet cubed. Okay, now they're not always going to be right triangles. You have to know that the height of a triangle, it's basically from the base of your triangle all the way up to the top vertex of the triangle, creating a perpendicular line, a perpendicular measurement from the base to the vertex of the triangle. Okay, so if I were to give you a triangle that looks like this, it's not a right triangle anymore. And I'm going to let you know that this measurement right here is 9 meters. This measurement is 7 meters, and this measurement is 10 meters. Go ahead and find the volume for that triangular prism. All right, what's the volume? 315 meters cubed. Very good. Okay, so if you take a look, so these are the two triangular bases. They are 9 by 7s, 7 for the base, 9 for the height. If you multiply 9 times 7, you're going to get 63. 63 divided by 2 gives you 31.5. Then you multiply it by the height that's connecting the two triangles together, which is that 10. 31.5 times 10 is going to give you 315, and it's meters cubed. That's the volume. Again, volume is probably the easier of the two concepts that we're covering today. We're going to move on now to surface area.
That's pretty cool. I'll try not to cough. So I started coughing and melting.
All right. So surface area. It's still a type of area, so that means it is to the second power when you talk about your unit of measure. And there is a universal formula, but that's not given on the formula sheets. The reference sheets for your milestones, for your exams, and even for your test is basically going to state that surface area is the sum of all area faces, like the faces of all the area of all the faces combined together. So, stop. You need to have the idea of just unraveling that shape and making the net and seeing it. But there is actually a formula if you want to make a flashcard to memorize that. It's not too difficult, but it works for no matter what kind. And again, this is for prisms, so please write that down that this is for prisms only. But the universal shape or formula that you can use is 2 times big B, where again, big B represents the base area, not the base measurement, but the base shape area, your base shape area. Then you're going to add it with big P times big H, where big P, stop, represents the base shape's perimeter, and then H still represents the height that connects the two bases together. So that's the formula that you could be using. Or if you want to sit there and look at it every single time and go, okay, well, I have that area, check. I have this area, check. I have this area, check. And you can do it that way as well. It's no different. It's just one might be a little bit longer, take a little longer time than the other. I'll give you a hint. This one's faster. If you've got your rectangular prism, so we're just going to focus on rectangular prisms today. We'll do triangular prisms a little bit on Monday. But rectangular prism, so again, draw a little rectangular prism. So we've got our little rectangular prism, and I'm going to say this is 6 inches, 4 inches, 2 inches. So like I've said before, the formula is 2 times, big B, uppercase B, plus uppercase P times uppercase H. All I need to do is find each of those individual parts of the formula. So I have 3 things that I need to fill in. I need to fill in what the value is for big B, which is the area of the base shape. So I need to pick out a base shape. And like always, I like to just stick with whatever's on the top and the bottom here. So what is the dimensions for that base shape? 6 by 4, right? And like we said before, you just do 6 times 4, which is going to give us 24. So the value for B is going to be 24. Then I find the value for P. You have to use the exact same rectangle. You have to use that exact same rectangle. So it's the 6 by 4 rectangle that I'm going to use, but this time I'm finding perimeter. So what's the perimeter going to be? Connor? 30. Not 30, 20. 20. Because if this is a 6 and this is a 4, that means it's 6 on top and 4 on the left side as well. Then you just add them. 6 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4, and that's going to give you 20. So that means your measurement for perimeter is 20. And then, of course, as always, H, that's the value that connects the two bases together. What measurement is that? 2. It's these lovely little sides right here that are going to connect them all together. So 2. Now all you have to do is just plug that information into the formula. So our formula again was 2 times big B. So that means it's 2 times 24 plus perimeter, which was 20, times height, which was 2. So follow the order of operations for solving. 2 times 24 is what? 48. 20 times 2 is 40. Add that together and we get 88. Okay, and that's, oh, sorry, inches squared. 88 inches squared. I want you to try one on your own. It's rectangular prism until you know what the dimensions are. It's not a cube. If it was a cube, it'd be 5 by 5 by 5 or 4 by 4 by 4. This is 5 by 5 by 4. Bless you. Answer. How about you raise your hand and then I can call on somebody. Rashawn? 130 yards squared is correct. Taking a look here. Base measurement, our base shape is going to be that square at the bottom and it's also at the top, which is 5 by 5. 5 times 5 is 25, so B is going to be 25. Perimeter, all the measurements are 5, so 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, or 5 times 4 is 20. The height is 4. Plug them into the formula. You do 2 times 25 plus 20 times 4. You get 50 plus 80, which is 130. Your assignment tonight, you have a pizzazz worksheet. Let me show you real quickly what you're going to be doing. On one side, so on this side, the side that talks about Zelda and the 2 nickels, 3 dimes, and the quarter, this is surface area only. Quiet. This is surface area only. So you're working through the surface area of each of these problems. What you do, you answer it. When you find your answer down here, it has a letter or letter combination next to it. You then put that letter combination in the problem number. So like whatever you get your answer to be number 1, whatever the 2-letter combination is, you put them there for number 1. Then on the back is just focusing on volume. Back is focusing only on volume. So you've got rectangular and triangular prisms, and you'll also notice that you've got a pentagonal and a hexagonal prism as well. You don't have to find the area of those base shapes though, because look what they're already giving to you. They're already telling you that big B equals such and such value. So you just plug that into your formula of big B times H. Then once you find your answer is located down here. You plug in the letter combination to that answer, and it should make sense. You must show your work, whether it's on the paper or on a paper attached to it. You will not get credit for the assignment if there isn't work shown. Is that clear?
Yes.
Fantastic.